Have you ever wondered why some organizations seem to navigate market volatility effortlessly while others crumble under the slightest pressure? The secret often lies not in avoiding risk, but in how deeply that risk is integrated into the very fabric of the organization. Welcome to our deep dive into strategic risk management. At its core, risk management is far more than a checklist or a periodic audit. It is a continuous, living organizational mechanism. Its primary function is to create a direct, unbreakable link between the small, localized decisions made on the shop floor or in a project room and the high-level enterprise risk management, or ERM, framework. Think of this integration as a three-layered architecture. At the base, we have individual project decisions. Every time a project manager chooses a vendor or adjusts a schedule, they are interacting with risk. The middle layer represents portfolios and operations, where these individual project risks aggregate and impact the broader business flow. Finally, the top layer is organizational strategy. Integration ensures that data flows upward to inform strategy and strategic intent flows downward to guide operations. This matters because it governs uncertainty across the board. By establishing this foundational bridge, we protect our strategic intent, the why behind our business. Whether you are an engineer optimizing a technical spec or a director shifting a portfolio, this integrated approach shapes your decision-making process at every level, ensuring that every move contributes to the overall resilience of the firm. As we move forward, we need to redefine what we actually mean by risk and uncertainty. When I say the word risk, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? For many technical professionals, it's a failure, a broken component, a missed deadline, or a budget overrun. But what if I told you that risk is actually a double-edged sword? Formally, we define risk as an uncertain event or condition that acts as a catalyst. It is the spark that can lead to two very different destinations. On one hand, uncertainty leads to strategic opportunities. These are the gold paths, events that have a highly positive impact and are inherently value-creating. Imagine a sudden shift in technology that your team is uniquely positioned to adopt. That is a risk that resulted in an opportunity. On the other hand, we have operational threats. These are the silver paths, events with highly negative impacts that are value-destroying, such as a supply chain collapse or a regulatory fine. The critical takeaway here is that both sides of this coin require active, structured governance. You cannot just manage the threats and ignore the opportunities, nor can you chase opportunities without shielding yourself from threats. If you only look at the negative, you become stagnant. If you only look at the positive, you become reckless. We must learn to govern the uncertainty at the center to steer toward value creation. This requires a specific set of skills from the person at the helm of risk management. Is it enough to be a brilliant analyst or a master of Monte Carlo simulations to succeed in risk management? In modern industry, the answer is a resounding no. To truly empower a risk practitioner, we must look at the intersection of two distinct gear sets: technical skills and power skills. Technical skills are your foundation. They involve the math, the frameworks, and the ability to identify a failure mode. However, a technical risk assessment is useless if it sits in a folder because no one listens to the practitioner. This is where power skills, often called soft skills, come into play. Power skills include leadership, negotiation, and interpersonal collaboration. They allow a practitioner to navigate complex workplace dynamics and convince stakeholders to take action. When these two gears mesh, they drive what we call organizational maturity. This synergy is essential for benefits realization management, or BRM. BRM is the practice of ensuring that the intended benefits of a project are actually delivered and sustained. Without power skills, you can't get the buy-in needed to realize those benefits. For an engineer, this might mean not just identifying a technical risk, but having the influence to shift the design philosophy of the entire team. By blending these skills, we don't just find risks. We accelerate the organization's ability to be agile and resilient. How do we move from a culture of blame to a culture of agility? It starts by recognizing that proactive risk management isn't a burden, it's a culture builder. It creates psychological safety, the feeling that team members can report risks or admit mistakes without fear of retribution. Let's look at the cycle of an agile risk culture. It begins with promoting awareness. This isn't just about knowing a risk exists. It's about understanding systemic uncertainties, the ones that are baked into the industry itself. Next, we manage change. An agile culture doesn't just react to environmental shifts, it anticipates them. This leads us to balancing safety. Here is the paradox. To be innovative, you must take risks, but to stay in business, you must be safe. A healthy risk culture balances creativity with the necessary guardrails. Finally, we support resilience, utilizing lean startup methods and adaptable frameworks that allow a team to fail fast and recover even faster. This matters because when employees feel that risk is handled logically and proactively, they are more willing to innovate. They know that the safety part of the cycle is there to catch them if a creative risk doesn't pan out. This cyclical approach ensures that risk management is a support system for growth, not a brake on progress. But how does this play out in the budget? Let's look at the financial side of being proactive. Let's talk about the bottom line. There is a common misconception that risk management is an extra cost. In reality, the financial calculus of proactivity shows us that not managing risk is actually the most expensive choice you can make. Look at the comparison on the graph. The straight, gold line represents preventive actions. These are proactive steps we take early on. The cost is consistent and relatively low. Now, look at the gray, curving line representing corrective issue management, the reactive approach. Notice how the cost starts low but then explodes exponentially over time? This is because fixing a mistake in the design phase might cost $100, but fixing that same mistake after the product is in the customer's hands could cost millions in recalls and lawsuits. The shaded area between these two lines represents value saved. By implementing lower-cost preventive actions early, we avoid that massive spike in reactive costs. Furthermore, being proactive provides us with early data, which is essential for engaging stakeholders and securing their trust. It also increases our realization rate, the speed and frequency with which we can turn an uncertain event into a profitable opportunity. In short, spending a little now saves a lot later. To make this work, however, we need a unified standard across the whole company. One of the biggest traps in large organizations is having 5 different departments using 5 different risk templates. It creates chaos. To solve this, we must harmonize the risk practice. This doesn't mean forcing everyone to use the exact same spreadsheet. It means focusing on intended outcomes rather than rigid process uniformity. We visualize this through 3 pillars supporting a unified enterprise standard. First, the why. We must define the purpose and the strategic value of managing risk. Second, the what. What are the specific risks we are tracking? And third, the how. What are the methods we use to mitigate or exploit them? When these pillars are solid, the standard applies to all management performance domains, from HR to engineering to finance. This harmonization is crucial because it allows the risk strategy to remain effective regardless of the lifecycle approach being used. Whether a team is using a traditional waterfall method or a fast-paced agile sprint, the underlying principles of the why, what, and how remain the same. This ensures that risk management acts as an inherent part of all management, not a separate, annoying task. Of course, while the standard is unified, the application must be tailored. In risk management, one size fits none. A common exam trap is thinking that a single risk process will work for every project. In reality, we must tailor our strategy based on the level of uncertainty in our environment. Imagine a spectrum. On the left, we have predictive environments. These are defined and linear. Think of building a standard residential house. The risks are well known, and the process is straightforward. On the far right, we have adaptive environments. These are iterative and cyclical. Think of developing a brand new AI software. The level of uncertainty is massive. For projects on the adaptive side, we cannot just do one risk assessment at the beginning and call it a day. These require highly iterative processes and frequent feedback loops. Before you even start, your team must evaluate your specific organizational characteristics. Do you have the data? Do you have the expertise? Does your portfolio need a hybrid approach? By sliding our strategy along this scale, We ensure that we aren't over-managing simple tasks or under-managing complex ones. This flexibility leads us directly into the core framework of our practice, the 7 principles. We have reached the heart of our framework. Strategic risk management is guided by 7 integral principles that work together like an interconnected web. At the very center of this web is value realization. This is our North Star. Every action we take must be aimed at realizing value for the organization. The 7 principles surrounding this core are: achieve excellence in our processes, align with strategy to ensure we are moving in the right direction, focus on higher risk value to avoid wasting resources on trivial issues, optimize responses so our mitigations are cost-effective, foster a risk culture where everyone is a risk manager, navigate complexity to simplify the difficult, continuously improve using every tool at our disposal. These principles aren't just a list, they are a holistic framework. They span the entire life cycle of a business, from the initial strategic planning all the way to the continuous improvement of our technology. Over the next few slides, we are going to break these down individually to see how they function in the real world, starting with the pursuit of excellence. What does excellence look like in risk management? It isn't about having a zero-risk environment. That's impossible. Excellence is actually a balancing act, much like a scale. On one side, we have management costs, the time, money, and effort we spend on managing risk. On the other side, we have outcome predictability, our ability to accurately forecast what will happen. Excellence is achieved when we find the sweet spot, where our processes are tailored to our organizational maturity. If a company is small and agile, a heavy, bureaucratic risk process would be a failure, not excellence. Conversely, a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure project needs high predictability, so higher management costs are justified. When we achieve this balance, we increase the predictability of both qualitative outcomes, like brand reputation, and quantitative outcomes, like profit margins. Essentially, the process itself becomes a strategy. By being excellent at the way we manage risk, we inherently lower the overall risk profile of the company. It's about being efficient, not just doing things right, but doing the right things at the right cost. Have you ever seen a company pursue a bold new strategy while their risk department was still operating on a plan from 5 years ago? That misalignment is a recipe for disaster. Principle 2 tells us that risk management must evolve seamlessly alongside organizational governance. Risk strategy should coexist inherently with strategic planning. Think of it as a feedback loop. When the leadership team decides to enter a new market, a strategic move, the risk strategy must immediately adjust its timing, scope, and speed to support that decision. This isn't just a top-down approach. It also interacts directly with project performance domains. If a project team discovers a massive new risk, that information must flow back up to inform the corporate strategy. In a rapidly changing market, this alignment is what allows for organizational adaptability. If your risk framework is aligned with your strategy, you can pivot your entire business faster than your competitors because your shield, risk management, moves at the same speed as your sword, strategy. This leads us to the next challenge. With so many risks out there, how do we know where to focus our limited time? Every organization has scarce resources, limited time, limited money, and limited people. You cannot manage every single risk with the same intensity. Principle 3 is about efficiency, focusing on higher risk value. We use a classic tool here, the probability versus impact matrix. Look at the strategic focus zone, that bright gold square in the top right corner. These are the risks that are highly likely to happen and will have a massive impact on your primary goals. This is where 80% of your energy should go. A common exam trap is spending too much time on low-impact risks just because they are easy to talk about. To do this well, we must constantly monitor 3 environments. The technical, will the machine break? The social, will the team collaborate? And the economic, will the market shift? As our organization matures, we iteratively refine this prioritization. We get better at spotting the high-value risks early, allowing us to ignore the noise and focus on the signals that actually matter to our primary objectives. Once we've identified a high-value risk, How much should we spend to fix it? This is Principle 4, optimizing responses. Effective organizations don't just throw money at problems, they strike a mathematically sound balance. Look at the curve on this graph. As we increase our response investment, that is, the money we spend on mitigation, our value protection goes up. However, notice that the curve eventually plateaus and then starts to dip. This is the law of diminishing returns. If you spend $1 million to protect against a $10,000 risk, you aren't managing risk, you're wasting money. The goal is to find the optimal balance point, the peak of that curve. This ensures that our response costs are perfectly aligned with the significance of the risk. Part of this optimization is being proactive with your provisions and contingency reserves. By securing these funds up front, you ensure that you have the tangible means to respond effectively the moment a risk materializes. You aren't scrambling for a budget while the building is on fire. You are executing a pre-funded, optimized plan. We've discussed the math and the strategy, but now we must address the people element. Principle 5, fostering a risk culture. You can have the best software in the world, but if your employees are afraid to report bad news, your risk management will fail. Think of culture as a pyramid. The base is foundational team norms. This is where proactive risk identification becomes a daily habit for every engineer and clerk. The middle layer is organizational change initiatives, using project shifts to reinforce better habits. But the most critical part is the top, executive behavior and modeling. If the CEO ignores risk, the rest of the company will too. Leadership must model the specific risk practices they want to see. When a proactive culture is fostered, it cultivates an open, receptive mindset. Instead of seeing a change as a threat, the team sees it as a positive innovation. By integrating risk identification directly into the norms of how we work, we create a psychological foundation where people feel safe to be honest. This transparency is the only way to catch complex risks before they become disasters. Our final two principles work in a continuous, infinity loop, navigating complexity and continuous improvement. In the modern world, complexity comes from two places. Human, people are unpredictable, and systemic, technology is interconnected. To navigate this, we must first clarify our objectives and scope. Complexity thrives in the gray areas, so by being crystal clear about what we are doing, we decrease our exposure to reputation loss and cost overruns. But clarity isn't enough. We need an edge. This is where we leverage technology like artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML. These tools provide us with predictive insight. They can see patterns in the data that a human might miss. This creates a cycle. The AI gives us a predictive insight. We use that to navigate a complex situation, and then we use the results to continuously improve our models. This navigating and improving loop maximizes the probability of positive risk outcomes systematically. We aren't just getting lucky. We are building a machine that gets smarter with every risk it encounters. This brings us to our final conclusion: how all of this transforms raw uncertainty into a competitive advantage. We have covered a lot of ground, from the dual nature of risk to the 7 guiding principles. To wrap everything up, let's look at the big picture. True risk management does not operate as a defensive checklist or a department of no. Instead, it operates as a strategic engine. Visualize a funnel. At the top, we have raw environmental uncertainty, the chaotic world we live in. As that uncertainty passes through the funnel, it is refined by the elements we've discussed. First by our power skills, the people, then by our deliberate strategy, the plan, and finally by continuous improvement, the technology. What comes out of the bottom of the funnel? It's no longer uncertainty. It has been transformed into structured business value and competitive advantage. This is the ultimate goal of strategic risk management. It provides a comprehensive architecture that takes the very things that scare your competitors, complexity, volatility, and change, and turns them into the fuel for your organization's growth. By applying these principles, you don't just survive uncertainty, you use it to win. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of strategic risk management.